Welcome to Collective Conversations. Today we are discussing a program that's making a real difference in the lives of young people throughout our community. It's the Summit Collective Camp Elevate 2026. In a world, and excuse me, cut. Start over. In a world filled with distractions, challenges, and uncertainty, our youth need more than supervision during the summer months. They need encouragement. They need opportunities. They need positive role models. Most importantly, they need people who believe in them. TSK's Camp Elevate was created to help young people strengthen literary skills, develop leadership abilities, build confidence, explore new opportunities, and discover their God-given potential. Today, we'll discuss why youth development matters, the impact Camp Elevate is having on children and families, and how communities can work together to create brighter futures for the next generations.
Thank you all. Thank you, Chad, for being here. And just to talk a little bit about TSK Camp Elevate 2026 and beyond. Last year, 2025 marked our first time that we did have Camp Elevate. We had it up at my office up on 345 Prince Street, which we since moved back to Washington Street, Washington Avenue over at the Multicultural Center, which I'm so proud to be there. I think, Mr. and Mrs. Deborah and Frank Williams, and also Elder Abel Clark for allowing that to happen. It's been a great time up there. And like I said before, it's good to be back there. But today, I just really want to talk about why youth development matters more than ever. And that's what we're trying to do as well. Like I said before, I know there's other camps, summer camps, so it's definitely not trying to, compare them, right? It's the fact of us trying to, just reach out to the community and just help as well. And talk a little bit about why youth development matters, because every generation faces challenges, and we're in that day and age right now. Today's youth, definitely navigating through the world. It's really changing a lot faster than ever, and that's what you start to see. So, do we know, or can they really understand and reach their potential, or even understand about what their potential is? So, we're creating, definitely an environment, definitely at TSK Camp Elevate, in order to kind of help them develop and discover these things as well. There's a lot of challenges, though, like I said before, that are facing the youth today. We're trying to grab them at an age where we can kind of mold them, right, with some positive role modeling of, definitely how, the world can be a good place, right? We do it a lot of different ways as well, because there's a lot of, and let's get it right. In today's age, there's a lack of role models. There really is. And that's one thing we're kind of big on. And like I said, I'm not saying that we don't have work to do, because of course we do. At TSK, Camp Elevate, we have work to do but definitely getting the right people in there in order to get to positive role model for the kids, things that they need. And also some of the loss they have learning. There's a unique way we do things, basically through activities that at Donachie we do, right? So we kind of merged it and kind of brought it to the TSK model as well, as far as, teaching kids through activities as well. Hey, I love school. As far as they having it and they have an opportunity to learn. Don't get me wrong, I do, and that's great. But during the summer months, it's one of those things like we have to. I want to make sure they retain some of these things, but also I think we should be able to do it in a fun, learning way, and through activities, and understanding that as well. So one of the things I understand, why youth development is very important. And this is what we're kind of striving for, to kind of help with Camp Elevate in order to do those things as well. Because, strong communities don't happen by accident. And we have to understand that. They're built by investing in young people, and that's what we're willing to do. I mean, I think, and then, it was a great sight to see today. We had, we went to the movies today and saw a movie, but it was several other groups out there with a youth camp. And I love that. I love that, because it means really getting the kids involved. We're still trying to work on some of the older ones. That's one thing we have to work on. Some of the ones that possibly aged out of elementary that still need the help. I think all children need help. I don't care what age they are. 18 and down, and even sometimes older than that. So it's like, I mean, but definitely, focusing on the elementary youth as well. And, and like I said, from now it's going well. I mean, last year we had almost upward to 25, not all the time. I mean, roughly we usually had a little less than that, but this year is up to 28, and that's a great thing. I mean, we only budgeted for 25, but we're up to 28, which, and it happens sometimes, but not turning kids back. But I'm super elated when it comes to that as well. And that's, one of the things that we spoke about. And, just to go on a little bit about it, making sure, that every kid is seen in a positive light. And I know it's hard sometimes. That's why we speak about it a lot. I mean, and try to, just tweak it. We're a week and a half in now. So, it can only get better. We're going into July the 16th, so it can only get better. I mean, the better. You're always looking for a way. Just like, when it comes to like Donkey and things we do, it's always something we can do better. I mean, and that's, definitely something but to see the kids' faces every day, to speak to them. It's even, when we talk about being kind to someone, being kind to an adult, saying hello, how you doing? Doing okay? Things like that is a big key. I mean, to those things and that helps us, I think, in a way.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing. I started working for you around the start of last year's camp, and that was one of the things that impressed me is, these kids. A lot of them knew each other at the start of the camp, but a lot of them didn't either. And summertime, they're not in school and they don't have maybe that daily structure, and they're not around their friends as much. So, this day and age, I think a lot of them, all the communication they get is electronically and on screens. And you can just see, a difference from the beginning of the week. People, kids opening up to each other socially.
Right.
And it impressed me because they're not only doing it, but while they're doing it, they're doing activities that are fun for them, but that are also educational. And, so you can see like a good positive social impact as well as an educational impact.
Right. So let's get into that. So let's get into that real quick. The mission behind TSK Camp Elevate. The mission really was one of the things where, like I said, I've seen camps before, right? Not saying anything was wrong with them because they were good. I mean, don't get me wrong. The only thing I would say is, though, I know that we on the Donakey side do a lot of, innovative things, in order to teach children. So I was like, well, why don't we, try that, talk to, some people that work with me. And I said, why don't we try to, do something like this? So, yeah, I mean, are you saying, did we copy? I think sometimes when something's good, I don't see anything wrong with it as well. I mean, I think it's like, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. I mean, type of mentality. Only thing is tweaking it with some of the things that we do as far as with, like I told you, activities and learning. I think, seeing last year, the kids light up over, some things that we were doing even in our computer lab was a great thing as well, as far as with reading. That's what it starts with. I mean, literacy for life, I think is, one of the things that we speak on and talk about are those things. Literacy life. I mean, we have to teach the young how to read. We have to teach the old if they can't do it how to read. It's a must. It's a must. It really is a must. I mean, I know we're talking about school. No, I'm talking about life.
Yeah.
Literally, and when I say literacy for life, I mean that as far as, you have to, you have to be able to read, because you're not able to navigate your life, in a way where, everything is informational. Right. A lot of times, if it isn't, in front of your face on the wall, it's on your computer, it's on your tablet, it's on your phone. So you have to be able to, and also building confidence as well, everybody into sports and things of that nature as well. So teaching them another way, teaching them, that some other way may be the way as well. So then, it's not Camp Elevate it's not about babysitting, right? Or just simply, recreation either. It's, it's definitely about youth development.
I think so much success in life is based on our ability to communicate. And I think that ability starts at a very young age by learning to read.
Right.
So that's our earliest form of how we learn to communicate properly. And, because and I don't really think it's a measure of intelligence, because I've known a lot of intelligent people that struggle to communicate.
Right.
So, it was hard to see where they excelled, because so I think by us really focusing on literacy when people are young, not like you said, it's not just about school. It affects the rest of your life.
Right. And that's the thing is, and when I think about it, going back in my life when I think about mission or why, when I was worked at Presley Ridge years ago, there was a week that we had, and the week was actually, it was called Camp Courageous then. And it was a week where we took the kids out. I mean, and sometimes it was different behaviorally, because some of the kids we dealt with had some behavior issues at the time, with acting out and things of that nature. But I think the more we did it, the better it was when it came to these things, because then the kids were really, they warmed up. And like I said, it was a lasting effect on them. It was a lasting effect on me. Was it tired? Sometimes, yeah, it was, because we stayed the night. We're not staying the night at Camp Elevate. It's a day camp, 9 to 3. So that's a little different, but that's the thing. It's just, it was a lasting effect on me that, the camp came up and the kids really, enjoyed it. And you can see now, because we have some repeat campers there now, and you can just see it. And like I said, I just, I really thank God is the fact to be able to help and be a part of it, because it's not me by any means, right? We have other people that, step up even behind the scenes, Adrian Banks, she does a whole lot for Camp Elevate, right? In order to make it work. Without her, it wouldn't work. So I'm not, I commend her. And we have, someone new who came on, Miss Debbie Cross. She's done a great job. Really, helping with sponsorships and, getting those, sponsorships we need. So, but you have to have, people, but it's more people than that. So if I haven't named anyone, I don't want to, be amiss, but I appreciate everyone, right? That has helped and, came forward. It's one little thing that I'll say, and then I'll move on. We also are doing work training at Camp Elevate as well through Donachie. We have some consumers who get some youth, some teenagers that are coming in and also help. They support, and we, had to make that clear. They're there for support and also to learn as well, right? And like I was telling them last week, is that kind of, try to pull them to the side and speak to them a lot. This is training, but this is what it's like, especially because like I was telling them last week, we're not dealing with chairs. We're not dealing with, items. We're dealing with people. And sometimes, it's in, it kind of, it's good one day and then it ain't good the next. But being consistent is a big thing. And I think the bigger the consistency we have, the better it will be as far as the results that we get. And that's one of the things, that we speak about as well. And that's why we try to, yesterday, because last year we wasn't able to, hook up with the, Raleigh County Library just due to scheduling things. But this year we were, and they came yesterday, and they will come every Monday with the bookmobile. And I think, like I said, even then, just seeing that, and and like I said, the only thing that I think that I'm, disgruntled about Camp Elevate is I can't be there all the time. I do believe that. There's just other things that I have to do as well. But I have, great people over there running it, but it's like, that's the only thing. But, not seeing them get on, the bookmobile and trying to utilize it a little, that kind of sucks. But I know they did, and that was a great thing as well.
Right.
That's great, because it's not about me anyway. It's about the kids. It's about, definitely an experience that they have, and also the consumers who are working over there as well, and actually the, the camp counselors too.
And the thing I like is the model that you built is, and I think it's really organic, because a lot of the youth that have gone through your camps and programs are the same youth that that we see showing back up to help other
Right.
kids with their can, and
That is it. That is it.
that's
And I miss that. I miss
Yeah.
that. You're right.
and that runs so deep, and because now you're talking about not just changing a kid's summer, but you're affecting change that creates a cycle of positivity.
Right. And being with a history, I mean, I have a history of working with kids for a long time. Right. But one of the things that is paramount in my mind is, even if you're having them do a task that they don't want to do, if you help them with it or help them through it, they're more willing to do that instead of not doing it. Okay. So even if it would be, I mean, we had like something where last week when we were going to go to, we were going to go down to the solid waste authority, right? We were going down there, but before that, some of the kids didn't clean up, and they had got on the bus. So all I said, not roughly, I just said, okay, let's get them off the bus, right? Now they thinking, and a lot of people don't know, they were thinking it was going to be an issue. It wasn't. It was just the fact we were just going to, help clean up. But all I had to do was go in there and help them. And then they did it. And this is not, like I said, definitely not patting myself on the back, but that's the thing. A lot of kids need encouragement, but also, that's one of the things we need to, lend a hand as well. Right. Instead of sitting back watching them do it, we need to be getting there and do it as well. And I'm not saying I had to do a whole bunch. They did all of it. It wasn't that much to do, but it was still just a learning and a teaching moment to understand that we have to, clean up after ourselves as well. But that's fine. I mean, like I said, this is what we're here to do as well. Yeah. Everything doesn't have to be harsh. Everything doesn't have to be, a negative thing. And that's when, one of the things that we kind of work on as well. Just to go on, what we're talking about, there's some other things too. Is doing Camp Elevate, and other camps as well, discovering hidden talents is one of the things. And because every child possesses, hidden talents. There's gifts and abilities that are beyond what we even think. A lot of it would be like definitely leadership talents, getting them to understand that and getting along with others as well is another thing. And overcoming issues with others is another thing that we speak about. So a lot of times, and even some adults don't really know their hidden talents that they may have. That's one of the things when delving into Donaghy, that's one of the things we do, like when we meet with someone about a possible job interest, we try to lean on their strengths before I say I can fit you in this box here. Let me lean on your strengths, see what because where you're familiar with. Not saying we can't teach along the way, but I think it's better for you to get a say so, right? And it's better that you to get a say so and kind of understand that, hey, listen, you have some talents that you can expand on, right? Not only that, it could be academic, it could be entrepreneurship as well. I mean, you never know. And communication skills, is paramount. It definitely is. So just working on some of those things as well, and that's something that we're going to bring to the table there, because it definitely during a rainy day, it's nothing wrong with playing in the park, and we do take them to the park. But there's going to be days kind of like today that they can't do it. Things are wet, things. So now we have to get the art out. And then you start to see this artistic talent that someone may have. Yeah. Definitely. When we talk about entrepreneurial skills, just getting someone in and talking to them, which we will. Getting them in. We have several other field trips scheduled that hopefully that are powerful to definitely the children that have came. I just think it's great when they can do these things.
Yeah, and it's to me it's exciting to see young people exposed to so many different positive things, because there's so much potential in all of them,
right.
And you can just see the light bulbs and the passions, and like you said, sometimes they're getting exposed to positive things that they may not have even known about before.
That's
and
the
then
thing.
all of a
And I
sudden
don't think
you
we
can,
see.
you can see that passion.
And a lot of times you can as a person working there, you can overlook that and take it for granted, but you shouldn't, because you just don't know, all the things that are going on. They can remember you. I remember when my friend, Coach Brian Neighbors had me, he had me help him. He had an AAU team. This is before he was head coach. He had an AAU team. And, we had a couple of different times, but, one of the times it was like we had a group of boys and, I never really coached before or anything, but that one of the things I remember is when I would see him after that, certain guys, hey coach, and like I said, I'm like, but I'm not really, I'm not really a coach,
Right.
but it's one of those things where, it lasts. They still do. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
These, people that, they see you in a different light. Those are talents that we may have, right? And some of the kids as well, and just, kind of homing in on those things as well in a way where they can, take time. I would keep going back to literacy as well. I believe, slowing down. I think a lot of, embarrassment sometimes comes in because you feel that, but no, it's just people learn differently as well. And I believe that people, they have the talent. Like I said before, we get it. But when it comes to that, sometimes asking for help is a great thing as well. And I asked them, when we first started camp this year, I told them, listen, what's the silliest question you can ask? And everybody looks around. It's the one you don't.
That's right.
It's the one you don't ask. And a lot of times I get it, they're able to ask. And this is not a knock on school because, like I said, I love, school. I love the fact that, what the teachers do. Don't get me wrong. It's just that, we have to understand that it's tough at times.
Yeah.
It's tough at times. And, sometimes, children never discover their gifts at that time, and why would it be? Because, distractions.
Yeah.
You're the right distraction behaviorally. Sometimes it's a distraction where they can't, now they're dealing so much of a behavior, they can't even get down to the fact that this person has a lot of good talents and gifts to give. They can't do that because of some of the behavioral things, and that's something,
And I think, and even, I'm 50, so I'm dating myself a little bit, but even when I was growing up, and I think today it still rings true, is as youth, human nature for a kid is if you're not successful at something, kind of steer away from that. It didn't come easy to you, kind of steer away from that. Well, I think also like adults, we sometimes, without even intentionally doing it, we sometimes look and say, well, my kid's reading fast, so let's gear everything toward that. But they're not showing, they don't show any interest in art, so we don't. And I just think when they're young, let's expose them to as much positive things as we can, and not worry so much about what we're good at. Let's worry about what we're passionate about.
Right, and then encouragement.
Build up the
right,
steam.
and the encouragement comes into play as well. Exposure and encouragement comes into play. I'm telling you, like like I said before, the only thing that I'm upset about, I'm not always there at TSK Camp Elevate, but one of the things I try to do while I'm there is try to greet them in the morning. And I learned this from someone else. She just greet them in the morning. How you doing? Fist bump, things like that. And one of the things I started to see was like, I think I saw him yesterday. Yeah, I did, because I saw him yesterday in the morning. Didn't see him anymore that day because I had to go do some things, but I had to stop by the movies, right? And you should see him. And then this dawned on me, like, wow. They, fist bumping, because they used to me doing it there as well. And it's, those are the things that get me through, because I know that, it's, and like I told you, it's not even about that. It's not even about me coming on here bragging about it or what I'm not about that, but I do want change, and I do want to, want to help the community in any way I can, and I want others to as well, which we'll talk about here a little later. But this is something that we have to focus on. This is something that we need, right? And as a collective, that word, I always say it, but it means more than just. It means more than the Summit Collective. It means a collective of people. That's what it means. And like I said, people will definitely won't maybe always have the same, be on the same ideas, but we can have a same common goal, which is helping the community. And when that happens, it can happen in many different ways. Many different ways is that where it can happen. The next thing I want to talk about is definitely building young future leaders. And building these future leaders is the way we do it. How does it start? It starts way before they become adults. And this is something that, I had to learn, over the years. I had to learn about being responsible, right? That's what I was telling you about the, cleaning up display thing. It wasn't even a lot, but it's still yet a lot, being responsible, right? Integrity, teamwork is another thing. Learning and working as a team. Communication, of course, and decision making, making good decisions. It was a kid that, first week now, he was kind of disgruntled. I'm just telling you, he really was. I ain't coming back, stuff like that. And I understood. I mean, it was just one of the things, right? It wasn't for him. Seen him last 2 days, smile on his face. So, I mean, he's starting to get into it. I mean, I think a lot of times, sometimes a kid doesn't know, but what they doing there? What's going on over there? One of those things that, so once they see that, and then they say, oh, okay, it's not that bad. I mean, and once you see it's not that bad, then they want to come. But it's being a leader, right? And sometimes it's not even about titles. He's a leader, right? About talents. It's about, influence. Leadership is about, it's about service. Let's get it right. And I want to show the kids that, I'll do anything as far as, I'll serve them, whatever it needs to be, if that's the case, get down there and play with them, whatever it needs to be. Because service, I think the more as a community, if we go back to service, I think you can't go wrong. I really believe that. And I know, that people have things going on, people are busy, and I understand that. I'm not saying it. And like I said, it's whatever you can do for your community. That's what, is a great. The reason why I say that, especially if you have kids, parents, relatives, friends, the community can be affected by, definitely not having some positive role models and also some positivity in the actual community. So that's one of the things, because, one of the things is leadership is accountability as well. That's one of the things that it definitely speaks about. And the qualities, to me, of a good leader is being a good listener. That's one of the things, being a good listener. A lot of times, people come with ideas about, what can make, and we want to make it better. We want to make TSK Camp Elevate better. In all facets, we want to make it better. We want to make it, number one, we want to make it bigger, right? We always want to keep it safe. We want to make it bigger. We want to make it better. It's one of the things, that we speak about. And, I believe that good leadership can be taught in the right context. It can be taught. Because a lot of, the young people, they need to understand that. Why do we use that word leader? Because that's what it is, right? I mean, it's leadership. I mean, it makes sure they are responsible, making sure they, and, to me, why I think they are, and I don't know some of the situations of, where some of the kids from, Camp Elevate are in as far as home, but we pick a lot of them up from home, and very rarely do we have to wait. And that, to me, that's a good thing. I mean, sometimes, you got
Right.
things, but I'm telling you, man, it's like, so they're ready to roll, right? And that's a testament to the staff. It's a testament to, some of the things that while we're doing it, I mean, and I know others are as well. I think, all the people out there I've seen, even at the, movie theater today, hey, my hat's off to them. I really is, because it's never a competition to me. It's never something I don't try to talk about it at all. Right. Somebody can help a kid, a youth, an adult, a person in need, so be it, man. It's not, one of those things like that. I mean, would we like to grow? Yes, we would, but I'm never looking at anything as a competition at all. Right. It's not going to, because that brings what, as we both know, sometimes it brings the worst out of people. Yeah. Unfortunately, it brings the worst out of people, and it's not something that, definitely is needed, but we see it all the time. We can't be naive and believe that it's not. And that's something, we work on as well.
Yeah, and that leadership, I think, again, one of the key factors is communication skills.
Right, right.
I know I tend to tie everything back into literacy, but I think if you look at the most effective leaders, they communicate well. You can have the greatest ideas in the world, but if you can't explain them to your team and
I'll be the first to tell you that sometimes I struggle with that, and a lot of times I struggle with it. No excuse, I got to get better. But one thing I am good at is just acknowledging that out in the open, acknowledging that. I mean, out in the open, it's like, I need to get better at this. And so before I say, if something, was going on, let's say if something going on here at the office, before I say, Chad, what did you do wrong? I'd look at myself and think, what did I do wrong? Right. First, before I would even address the fact that, and sometimes that's what it is. I'm not saying that the things don't need to be addressed because of what happened, but I need to look within myself to make sure, number one, it won't happen again. Two, there's, safeguards in place in case it does.
And we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but I think you segued into what I was going to say. You just demonstrated what I was going to say. I think the number one important attribute to being a good leader is, and that is evaluating yourself first.
Right.
Someone on my team messed up. Okay, I'm responsible for my team, so let's make sure I didn't.
100%.
I gave them everything they needed to succeed.
Because with that comes, like you said it. You said communication. That was one of the things, right? It's a responsibility, though.
Absolutely,
it's a responsibility, but it's also accountability as well.
Yeah.
Right. You have to be willing. I mean, it's okay to want to be the leader, but with that comes responsibility. Yeah. With that comes accountability. If something goes wrong, they come to me, right? So I need to be responsible enough, and I need to also definitely have the accountability piece as far as, well, what's going on. I mean, and that's where, a lot of times, working, with people as well. I mean, people move, they different sometimes, right? I mean, but the way you talk to them, and I think there's a way to handle things without getting hostile. Sometimes people, that's where they are. They want to get hostile about it, but me, I try not to. I'm not saying I'm the best at it, but I try not to, because I don't think anything's gained in it when you are getting upset. And it's definitely, if it's in front of a bunch of kids, then guess what we're doing? We're modeling how not to communicate to them. So that's one of the things, you need to do. So, one of the things, I encourage, the community to do is to, just identify one person that we have encouraged, from a week to week basis. I think that's a good thing as well. And understanding it too, just to, kind of go on, it's a lot of times, one of those things where, we talk about where do we go? Where do we go? What do we do? Because a lot of times that's a hot button topic of, beyond, but to me, it's like, to me, what can it be like? What can, Camp Elevate be like beyond? And I think a lot of times, to me, definitely trying to, do some things as far as with, monitoring and mentoring throughout the year. It's hard without volunteers. It's very hard without that. Okay. And I'm just letting you know. So just trying to figure out ways in order to do that because of that reason. But definitely having some weekend events, which we're not opposed to, right? In order to keep the kids going and keep them engaged. I think it's all good. And that's one of the things I would say. It's all good to have them in camp, but what is it worth if we can't keep, definitely with the parents, definitely keep them invested, right? And that's one of the things I would say, is something that I, definitely want to do. I want to be involved in that as well. Just that you're around mentoring, but like I said before, it is hard. We put some things in place. I've been talking to Adrian as well about putting some things in place in order, to get volunteers to actually do some mentorship as well. But it's going to take a background check. It's going to take some serious safeguards because, today's end, let's just get it right. I mean, I'm just saying, I'd rather be safe.
Right.
You have to be. Right. I'd rather be safe knowing that your kid is safe. Right. Even if that means it definitely means me going through the same, regiment, requirements, because it does happen at times. It really does happen. And we just have to be aware of that as well. One of the things, that it speaks about is, where are we headed? Where we're headed, more or less in a way where we're still incorporating, like I said, some of the things that not only Donaghy does, but others do as well. STEM and STEAM is a big deal. And it always will be. Why we know that? Because, it's one of those things in a way that we can do it in a safe way, because there are elementary school, also opioid prevention education as well. Not saying I'm not, not saying, we're going to get in depth with it, because it might be too much for them, or it might make them inquisitive. I'm not afraid to speak about something to help others as well, though. So don't get it like that. I'm not saying that, but we really have to watch sometimes what that takes, and how that takes. I think, so just some education, some basic education on opioids is a big thing. Also, we have a college tour schedule. It's one of those things that I think a kid should see. Because it's everlasting when they do. And I think, getting them involved, understanding that it's a big thing. And I think, the more we can get them involved, the more we can keep them going. And like I said, keep them engaged. And that's what I said, I think this year, I think we can, continue that with some things we've had in place to continue contact as far as with an event type of thing with, some of the youth, just to make sure they understand that it wasn't just about the summer, right? Just being invested, being invested in
and
them.
it keeps that accountability, throughout the school year.
Right. And like I said, and this is not, and I always say that, but when it comes to controversy, I don't want any of it. When it comes to competition, I don't want any of it either. I now, like I said, now we playing Uno, no mercy. That's a little different. But other than that, no, seriously. But other than that, no. I think it's one of those things where people can really excel if they understand that people are invested in them as well. Yeah. We're going to invest. We will after the month. We'll invest a lot of time in each youth that that attend TSK Camp Elevate. With that being said, why lose that when we can continue it and keep it going, right?
And I like it because it's not like we're trying to reinvent the wheel. Because I can look back at my own life, and whether it was a coach or a teacher, or part of my church family or extended family, there's always been certain people that made an impression on me that no matter if I'm 50 or 15, I don't want to let those people down.
Right.
And I think the more people like that we can have in our lives, especially as youth, the better. And a lot of these activities, they introduce these kids to those people and to peers as well.
Right. And I think, when we're speaking about it, are we just playing in a camp? Now I see it's bigger than that.
Yes.
Even me, I see it as bigger than that. You have, 28, 29 kids, for a certain amount of time. And it's like, we can really make a difference, beyond that. We can make this a movement more beyond it. And we're all, this isn't only for TSK Camp Elevate, for other camps as well. And make sure they stay involved, make sure they have some things for them. Make sure they understand that they belong, they belong. Because I think, a lot of times that's what happens, a lot of people feel like they don't belong, right? And we go through different stages, right? Where people, we feel we belong one day, and then the next day we feel like we don't. So those are the things, that I start to see that is bigger than that. And, and that's the thing that, like I said, as far as improvement or as far as advancement, that's the way I want to advance. I really want, Camp Elevate, Camp Elevate to, definitely advance in that way. But it's going to take time, and I understand that. But it's going to take careful planning and also, some strong people around in order to do that. They're invested in, Camp Elevate as well. And I think we're starting to have that. And I think, to me, that's a great thing. I mean, that's, definitely where it's at when it comes to certain things as well. We have to be able to, home in, on number one, the great things that we could help provide with them. Also, getting with others as well.
Right.
Collaborating as well. I mean, I was talking to someone else about collaboration. I think, I love the word and I love doing it. I mean, because it's a great thing. We just did a Juneteenth event over at St. Paul Temple, Temple Baptist Church. And let me tell you something. It was a great thing. It was a great thing. I was there for the first half of it, and then someone else came and closed it out. But it's just getting the community together, man. It's a great thing as well. It really is. One of those, to me, it is. It's a beautiful thing to see. But it takes, if I was just setting up, it would just be me. But if we, definitely get other people involved, look where it can be.
Absolutely.
Look what it can be. It could be a big community event. Definitely something worthy, right? Of, someone coming and spending some time. I mean, and that's it. Even if they don't have anything, I mean, like they have resources and things like that, let's do it. I mean, I think it's going to be great when we do that and understand that as well.
Yeah, and the more we can work together, the more people we can help. Bottom line.
That's it. I think the next part I want to talk about is just about collaborating in itself. It does take a village. I was saying about a month ago now, going on a month ago, my daughter had graduated from Woodrow, and I just look back, and then there's a lot of people were involved with that. Not just me, everybody's, whatever. It wasn't just me, it was a lot of people involved with that, because it takes a village, in order for that to happen. It takes a village in order for, Camp Elevate to be possible as well. It takes a lot of volunteers, a lot of, the parents, trusting in us, sponsors, churches, definitely educators, because you want to get them involved as well. Community organizations, local businesses, right? And like I said, the staff. But community, involvement is a big key, because without them, and that's the thing. I think is I just made a call, today about TSK pathways, prevention, literacy to life, and I'll say it on air here in a little bit, but just giving back to community is a big thing, but also making sure we have other people on board that are partners with us is a great thing as well. I think you can't go wrong when it comes to that as well. Definitely understand that it does take a village in order for this to happen. TSK Camp Elevate doesn't happen without the kids. Let's get it right. It doesn't happen without the parents who let the kids come, who sign up. It doesn't happen. Also doesn't happen just by anything. There's other camps they could go to as well. So I really, I'm grateful for the fact that they, chose to come here. That means that we have to step up to the plate and make it memorable as well.
Yeah.
Memorable, but also sustainable for them to understand and take some of the things they've learned, right? And carry them on. I was talking to some little gentleman I picked up yesterday, and just talking to them about some things, and like, just getting them to understand, listen, we don't have anything nice to say. We shouldn't say, things to people as well. Just letting them know, but it's not, harping on the fact. I mean, that's one thing. That's one thing I learned. I learned a lot of things when I was at Presley about child development. Whole lot, things I'll never forget. But one of the things I did remember is, when it's over, it's over. When you have a conflict, when you have a problem, and I think that should go hand in hand for a lot of people, adults even, right? I think that's one of the things with them that, they kind of struggle with. But when it's over, it's over. We have to move on, because you're telling me, like, one of the things would be like, if there was, a discipline problem, right? a behavioral problem in a way where it's negative, then we would we would try to say, okay, let's talk about it, let's go through it, right? And then we move on. Because if we keep going back to it, then they're gonna go back to it. And then all the things you said about, oh, it's over, we dealt with it. But you haven't, because the first time you get upset, you still bringing that
Bring
back
it
up.
right back up. Yeah.
So just teaching those things. I think a lot of times what happens is, and this is not a knock, but a lot of people don't. I guess sometimes you don't know what a person's history would be unless they told you, as far as like what kind of experience they had. I tell people certain things, but I don't go around. It's just not me. I mean, and if you do, hey, listen, keep doing it. I don't have a problem with it. I just don't do it a lot. But I've been working with kids and families for over 20 some years, so I know a little bit about that. Only, and like I said, a bulk of it is from Pressy Ridge, but it's also some from school too. Don't get me wrong, but it's just one of those things where we know that that community involvement matters. We know that, and then we also know on the other side of that, when communities stop investing in the youth, things can get bad, right? And I think the thing that I haven't, and this is one of the things even with Presley, the things I haven't, little kids had something kind of solid, consistent. Those middle-aged kids, maybe not. And I got some way. I mean, I've been talking. Let's get it right. I was talking to Adrian about this, about doing something because some kids had aged out basically of what the camp that we had, and probably a lot of camps don't take a lot of older kids either, but people that need things as well. And that's definitely something that when I hear that, you can either hear about it or you can do something, right? You can put it in. If you have things in place, if you're blessed to have things in place, unless where we are now, in our in the new office, right over here on 16 Eisenhower, North Eisenhower, we're sitting in a new place where we call a studio, but out from that, you can see is a computer lab.
Right.
But what good is a computer lab? And I know we're shooting now, so nobody's in here. But what good is a computer lab if you can't use it? You know what I mean? You can't let them use it. And guess what? Sometimes, guess what? It's going to break, and that's okay. Yeah. We're going to fix it. Right. And that's the way it's going to be. And that's something that we kind of go over as well. And that's something that like I said, for when they talk about takes a village, that's the thing. Before we close, that's the thing I want to understand, that this won't happen without these people, and I thank them. But I'm getting ready not to say direct thanks, but we're getting ready kind of close out, and I'll close a little bit, because I believe that every child deserves an opportunity to learn, grow, lead, and succeed. I believe that. I mean, I really do. And that's one of the things, because you never know. We got in that crowd that we had, in the picture that we have, you got a future doctor, a coach, a pastor, an entrepreneur. We're all in there. Business owner, community leader. That's what it is, because that's what we are. And if we bring them around people like that, how great can it be? That they can, definitely aspire to be one of those people in the future as well. And that's why. So we're really trying to build futures at Camp Elevate. And that's one of the things that I like as well. And that's one of the things I believe, but, I'll be amiss before it closes. There's a lot of great sponsors that have given us right now more than before, than last year. I think that's a good thing. I think it's a testament to Adrian Banks, also Michael Folks, who's a part of camp staff as well. They've helped. They've done a lot to raise some money in support of the camp. And like I said, Miss Debbie Cross as well. She's been a great access to the Summer Collective and just helping, right? And you on the back end of that, Chad, help as well. Help, trying to, not only get donations, not that the experiences, the kids, getting linked up to some good experiences through Camp Elevate as well. That's what we want. We want to, continue that. We want to make it grow. Unfortunately, we had to turn a lot of, people down. And I hate that, because that's as I am. I don't really want to turn anyone down, but I think at some point you have to. The registration was out there, and like I said before, we'll do a better job. hopefully, like I said, for the grace of God, we can do it more, and bring more kids in, so we can, definitely they can experience it as well. I think, that's one of the things, we spoke about as well, which I mean, listen, I want kids, if they want to come, I want them to come. But there is a limit to that. And that's the only problem. But what if there really wasn't? What if there was, I would definitely talk to the board. I would definitely talk to members of the team. But if somebody wanted to collaborate and make this bigger,
absolutely.
If it sounds right, let's do it.
Yeah.
If it's the best, but guess what? Not if it's the best for the summit, if it's the best for the kids.
Right.
Then let's do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what we're speaking about, because that's the thing.
If more kids can be reached, without giving up the quality that we're able to.
100%.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things, that we keep bringing to the table, because like I said, when you build in futures, when you're trying to change lives, this is what it takes. But, it's like, while, children probably, I don't know, they don't make up a big amount of the population that we have, maybe 27, but they're 100% of the future, because they're going to be here when we ain't. So, that's one of the things that we speak about. So that's why we have to support them. That's why we have to. So this definitely wasn't that, definitely something it was just to talk about, right? If someone, can be inspired about, doing their own camp, call me. We can talk about it. I mean, that's fine. I'm not, definitely not something that, we want to, if you can definitely increase the way. Now, the only thing I would tell you is to make sure you get the safeguards in place. Unfortunately, sometimes there's people out here that aren't, they don't have the right intention.
Right.
So I wouldn't say, everybody, let's do about 50 camp. I didn't say that, because I know put the safeguards in place to where, you can make sure the kids are safe, right? Staff are safe as well.
And, I think for someone that does want to eventually start a camp, I think there's no better way to learn how to do that than to volunteer at an existing
right.
camp.
That's a great thing to say.
There's a great need,
and it is.
And the learning experience is unmatched.
Oh man, it is. You're definitely right. You're definitely right. And I think that's what we're trying to do. Definitely gain and build up the volunteers in a safe, like I said, in a safe way with safeguards in place. And that's why a lot of times, a lot of, the people that work, that, are in the summit, as far as with some events, they actually, are involved with Donaghy, which, they are vetted. They have background checks. So that's the thing. So it's something that, and also they work with me. So it's like something that, it's not going to throw them a curveball if they, be in there or whatever. So, but that, but definitely one of the things that if I could improve on something is to get the volunteers, but also get them vetted to where, they can actually really dive in and do the job, right. So, I like I said, I think, while we wrap up this, collective conversation, I think, everyone, I think the community, I think the leaders, I think the sponsors, I think the children, the parents, like I said before, the workers, I think everybody, I thank God first, even allowing this to happen. I always pray about it, that things go well, right? I mean, that we're doing, the right thing, because I don't want to do the wrong thing, we don't want that. And I know all the time we can't safeguard everything, but we can do the best we can by keep on checking until we can't check anymore about the things that we're doing. So, like I said, I want to thank everyone again for, participating, and hopefully we make this bigger and better next year. And thank you for joining Kollective